Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Nitro. This is Steve Davis. Steve Davis has The Making of Men. I have The Disconnect. So we have two shows with the same focus and same understanding, same goal to raise our boys to men and our girls to women. So The Making of Men, The Waking of Women, and we always identify the disconnect and reconnect. So these are some of our thoughts, and we always ask y'all to just think about it. Think about it, 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 think about it. That go back to that where I was talking about that hustle that your coach tell you. You know, don't mean the streets. It mean, hey,
dude, go get every loose ball.
Every loose ball.
Every loose ball.
Damn.
Hey. Even if the ball's out of bounds, boy, I better see you jumping out of bounds.
That's a lesson in life, but that's a different teaching, a different era. That's something totally different.
But that's the reason why this generation's different than ours, are softer.
God dang.
We think about this, and this is a great analogy too.
Right.
The basketball analogy from the 80s. You remember how in the NBA, how physical the game was back then?
Right.
Versus today. Man, you can't touch these cats.
Nobody, right.
Everybody's temperamental.
Sensitive.
Well, Jordan, like he said last night on The Last Dance, he said when he went up against the Detroit Pistons and he saw how they were trying to take him out, he said, what I did, he said, I didn't complain about it. He said, we started doing, that's when I created the Breakfast Club. He said, I started flipping the weights.
Get to it.
He said, I wasn't trying to take punishment. I was trying to dish it out. He said, okay, that what y'all want to do? See, that's a champion's mind, though.
Right,
understand the difference. That's the difference, man.
And people think they got problems instead of challenges.
That's right, man. Everything is about perspective. Everything is about how do you see it. Everything. The first thing we talked about was perspective. Remember that?
That's right.
Everything is about perspective. Michael Jordan, when he got cut from the team, he came home, told his mama, Miss Jordan, you know what she said to Mike? Oh, that means you need to work harder. Today's parent would get in the car, drive up to the school to go cuss the coach out and say, you better put my son on this team, instead of saying, what did you do? Did you work hard?
Participation trophies.
So it's a different time. It's a different era. And that's the reason why, look, dude, that's why we have the situations in our community and the black community that we have, is we're not willing to say to our children, when they come home complaining, we're not willing to say to them, work harder. Hey, look, even if it's unfair, even if the teacher was wrong, I want you to rise above them. But they're an adult. I don't care. Life's not fair.
Right.
So if that's gonna be your thing is like it's not fair, that teacher's not fair,
right,
then that's exactly what that kid as an adult, and you see it, you know them, you seen these brothers, you heard them, you talked to them.
Right.
They were raised where that mama, you can tell, went and every time something happened, never held them accountable. It ain't fair. It ain't fair.
And we was taught to play against the other team and the referees.
That's right. And the referees is life, remember?
That's right.
That was life.
Or government,
that's right.
Whatever it is, right?
That's right.
All right, y'all. Y'all know this is The Disconnect, and this is the Making of Men segment with Steve Davis. So y'all get ready. Y'all know where it's going.
You know, the one thing that I can say that I've learned more from than anything else, and I used to hear this all the time when I was younger, is small steps and to appreciate the little things. Okay. I didn't really grab that. I didn't really understand what that means until I got married, till I started my own business, till I started trying to lead in the community, until I realized that I opened myself up to a lot of criticism. Okay. And And I realized that real success happens in small steps and small places.
In the journey.
In the journey.
In the journey.
Because...
So you saying just as opposed to the... I mean, you got to have a long goal, but you need some short, attainable goals and put the bricks on the wall. Right?
So let me say this to you.
Okay.
And this is key. That's you're absolutely correct. And one of the things that I have found that keeps me from losing heart, from wanting to give up, is being okay with little successes. Because it's the small successes that eventually lead you to the bigger successes. But those small successes help you to stay focused on the vision.
Okay. Kind of like Martin Luther King said, you don't need to know the whole stairwell, just take a step.
Because let me tell you something, if the reality is, if we looked at the complete stairwell, we'd get overwhelmed.
We get overwhelmed, right.
But the way that we don't get overwhelmed, the way I'm able to run 5 miles every day, and I'm not an Adonis. Listen to me.
And that's step by step.
I run by keeping my head looking down at my next step.
Step by step.
Step by step.
And complete the step.
And the next thing I know, not only have I worked up a sweat, but I look up and 5 miles is behind me.
Wow.
And people ask me, Steve, why do you run every day? When I first started running, I was running for my health, right? Doctor said you gotta run, your blood pressure's high. I was smoking cigars on airplanes, drinking Bombay Sapphire gin, staying up all night. Blood pressure was out of control. The doctor said, Steve, you gotta lose weight. So when I first started running, you remember this, I lost 80 pounds. Because I have I have an obsessive personality. When I lock in on something, I'm a pit bull. I'm getting it. So when the doctor said you either lose weight or die, I locked in on my son. I got to be here for him.
Purpose. Right. Whatever your motivation is.
Whatever it is. Mine was my son.
Right.
Because my marriage had ended.
Got you.
Did you hear what I just said to you?
Right. Find your purpose and take a step.
And I started going.
Okay.
And the next thing I knew, I looked up and it became my success routine.
Now, how do people, so now that we said that, how do people find that purpose and learn to take that step and be consistent in taking those steps?
Being willing to fail, being willing to look like a fool, being willing to sacrifice, being willing to do what nobody else is willing to do. One of the ways you find your purpose is that very thing that wakes you, that you find yourself waking up to and keeps you up all night and you think about it all the time. That's one of the ways you know you on purpose.
Okay, let me address that. We came from our fathers, our grandfathers who was working hard, whether it was in the field, a warehouse, on a construction job, whatever they was doing. So we learned how to diligently work for something, work towards something. We was raised by OG, they raised by IG. So look at all the different directions and information that they got. I'm talking about the kids. All the different information that they got, which makes it hard for them to find their purpose and focus in on something.
I'm writing something down you just said. You said for something and towards something. That's the difference in purpose. Is when I'm working for something, it's an immediate gratification. I've got to get this. I'm going for this paycheck. I'm going for this to get this. But when I'm working towards something, that's the big goal.
That's the long game.
That's the stairwell. That's the stairwell. That's the long game. So what we have to figure out, number one is, am I working for something or towards something? And then once I figure that out, I then have to say, okay, if I'm working for something, I got to switch that up and start working towards something. And if I'm working towards something, I have to then ask myself, what steps am I taking daily to get there? because most of us are inconsistent. It's nothing worse than a Negro that's always talking about what he gonna do and want to talk to you and make you think he doing more than he's actually doing. And you want to say to him, Negro, you ain't doing nothing. You're talking.
Right. But and when I say most of the, I say young, but
That's
I know a lot of
too.
people old too.
Yeah, man.
They don't have a spirit of completion.
Woo.
From school to
and you know what
training,
and you know what that's about? It goes back to conversations me and you keep having. It goes back to to our childhood, because many of us were rejected and neglected in our childhood.
Okay.
So what happens is then we base our value on, as an adult, on how somebody receives me. It's real talk. I don't care who you are.
Okay,
I don't care who you are. I don't care if you hey man, you could be the best looking whatever. You can have the money in the bank. Right. It don't matter. You're still basing your value on how people receive you. I can't tell you the number of people I see on social media that their worth, you can clearly see, is based on how many likes they're getting, who's sharing their post.
That's the validation.
That's the validation, and that's the problem. Is this culture has put validation based on a social media like instead. That's right. That's hey, can I tell you something? Yeah. That's what we call back. That's fraudulent. Right. That's counterfeit. It's not real.
It's a temporary ego boost.
It's like you busting a quick one.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then that goes back to when you said you got to be willing to fail, to be embarrassed, to be laughed at, but they're not willing to do that. So they go that extra mile and be an individual.
So you know what we have to. So what we have to do is, when we're teaching our boys and when we come around brothers and we become a brotherhood, we have to help them understand that destiny is expensive. Okay. That you don't get to destiny on welfare.
Now, what's that cost?
Everything. And that's what you have to be willing to pay when you start traveling towards destiny, is everything. You have to say, at the end of the day, when I die, they'll say in my eulogy, he gave everything. Hey, look at here. When I go to the grave, D, okay, I'm going to leave everything on this side of dirt. I don't want to take nothing with me to the dirt. That's tweetable.
Can that be taught?
Yes, it can.
It's a drive and a
passion.
That's
grit. Yes, it can. It's called grit. Yes, it can.
That's not a natural passion that can be taught.
Hey, look here. That some people have it more naturally than others. Absolutely. Right. But it absolutely can be taught. Absolutely. You can teach somebody how to endure. Yes, you can.
Hey, these are some of our thoughts, and we just ask y'all to think about it.